Let's stop pretending that every state in this country offers the same deal. They don't. For Black Americans in 2026, geography is the difference between surviving and thriving. We are seeing a massive shift right now. People are packing up and heading back south. But they aren't just looking for better weather. They are looking for power. They are looking for places where they aren't the minority fighting for a seat at the table. They want to be the majority who owns the table. But here is the truth. Just because a state has black faces doesn't mean it has black wealth. Just because the culture is familiar doesn't mean the laws are safe. You have to know the difference between a trap and a fortress. Today we break down the top 5 states where Black America actually holds the ground. We look at the money. We look at the safety, and we look at the raw truth. If you want to know where our strength really lies, this is the list. Let's get into it. Number 5, South Carolina. We are starting this list deep in the South. South Carolina comes in at number 5. If you know anything about history, this shouldn't surprise you. This state has been a center of black life since before the country was even founded. But we are not just talking about history books today. We are talking about right now. South Carolina is sitting at a point where the past and the future are colliding. For a long time, people overlooked this state. They thought it was just slow country living. They thought it was just about farms and beaches. But if you look closely at what is happening on the ground, the story is changing. Let's look at the numbers because they don't lie. The black population here is holding steady at nearly 27%. To put that in perspective, the national average is hovering around 14%. That means when you walk down the street in Columbia or Charleston, you are seeing double the representation compared to the rest of America. That creates a level of comfort that you don't get in other parts of the country. When you walk into a store, you are not the odd one out. When you go to a restaurant, you see black families owning the space. That visibility matters. It lowers your blood pressure in ways you don't even realize until you experience it. But let's talk about the money because that is where the real gap is closing. The economy in South Carolina is shifting fast. It used to be that if you lived here, your options were limited to hospitality or agriculture. That is not the case anymore. This state has become the battery belt of the South. We are seeing over $11 billion in capital investment in the electric vehicle sector alone. While manufacturing jobs nationally are growing at a slow creep, South Carolina's manufacturing sector is outpacing the national average significantly. Big companies are building factories and assembly lines right now, and they are looking for people to work. This is creating a new kind of opportunity for black families. You can get a job here that pays $60,000 to $80,000 without needing a fancy degree from a university that leaves you in debt. You can work with your hands and still afford a house. And speaking of houses, let's talk about the cost of entry. This is the biggest differentiator. The median home price in South Carolina is hovering around $290,000. Compare that to the national median, which is sitting well over $420,000. Or compare it to New York City, where the median is over $800,000. You do the math. Here, you are not spending 50% of your income on rent. You can get land, you can get a yard, you can get a place where your kids can run around. But living here requires a specific mindset. It is slower. People take their time. If you are used to the hustle and bustle of a big city, this might drive you crazy. You have to be okay with silence. You have to be okay with knowing your neighbors. And you have to understand the deep cultural roots here. This is the home of the Gullah Geechee people. This is where African traditions survived the longest in North America. You can feel that spirit in the food. You can hear it in the way people speak. It is a connection to the ancestors that you can't buy. However, it is not all perfect. There are still old barriers here. There are still people who are stuck in the past. You will see reminders of a time when we weren't welcome. You will see flags and monuments that might make you angry. But the sheer number of black people here provides a shield. It provides a buffer. You have a community that is big enough to protect its own. You have churches that have stood for 100 years. You have networks of families that go back generations. So when we talk about South Carolina being the 5th blackest state, we are talking about resilience. We are talking about a place that has seen the worst of history and is still standing. It is a place for people who want to be close to the root. It is for people who want to build something steady. It is not flashy. It is not trying to be Hollywood. It is just real. And for a lot of people right now, real is exactly what they are looking for. Number 4, Maryland. Now we move up the coast to number 4. Maryland is a completely different world compared to where we just were. If South Carolina is about tradition, Maryland is about power. This is where the game changes. When people think of black success, this is usually the picture they have in their head. Maryland has a massive black population, but it is the money that sets it apart. This state proves that having a high black population doesn't mean being poor. In fact, it proves the exact opposite. Here, you see black wealth on a level that doesn't exist anywhere else in America. We are talking about neighborhoods where every house is a mansion. We are talking about driveways filled with luxury cars, and the people driving them look like us. This changes your mindset. When you live here, you stop thinking about survival. You start thinking about advancement. You start thinking about what is possible for your children. The schools in these areas are top tier. The parks are clean. The businesses are thriving. It feels like a different reality. A lot of this comes from being so close to the capital. The federal government is right next door. That means jobs. That means stability. That means contracts. Generations of black families here have built their lives on steady government work. They didn't have to worry about the ups and downs of the stock market as much. They had pensions, they had benefits, and over time, that stability turned into wealth. It allowed them to buy property. It allowed them to send their kids to college. So now you have a class of people who are highly educated and highly paid. But living here comes with a price tag, a very big one. Maryland is not cheap. You cannot come here with empty pockets and expect to figure it out. The rent is high, the mortgages are high, the taxes are high. You are paying for access. You are paying to be in the room. For some people, that pressure is too much. It can feel like a rat race. You are constantly competing. Everyone you meet is a lawyer or a doctor or a consultant. The first question people ask you is, what do you do? It is a status-driven culture. If you are not climbing the ladder, you might feel invisible. And we have to be honest about the divide within the state. Not every part of Maryland is rich. There are cities here that have struggled for a long time. There are places where the wealth hasn't trickled down. So you have this sharp contrast. You have extreme wealth right next to historic struggle. But even with that, the influence is undeniable. Black people here have political power. They run the counties. They run the courts. They make the laws. That is a rare thing. Usually we are fighting just to get a seat at the table. In Maryland, we often own the table. That changes how the police treat you. That changes how the banks treat you. It doesn't mean racism is gone, but it means you have leverage. You have a voice that actually gets heard. So if you are driven, if you are ambitious, if you want to be surrounded by black excellence, Maryland is the place. It demands a lot from you. It demands your best effort every single day. But if you can keep up, it gives you a life that you can't get anywhere else. It shows you the ceiling of what is possible. And for a lot of us, seeing that ceiling is enough to make us want to reach for it. It is the gold standard for a reason. Number 3, Georgia. Number 3 is the one everyone expects to see. You cannot make this list without talking about Georgia. For the last 20 years, this has been the magnet. Everyone knows someone who has moved to Georgia. Your cousins moved there. Your friends from high school moved there. It feels like the whole country decided to pack up and go to Atlanta. And there is a reason for that. Georgia represents a specific kind of dream. It is the dream of self-making. Unlike the old money of Maryland, Georgia is about the hustle. It is about starting from scratch and building something big. The black population here is exploding because people feel like they have a chance. They look at the music industry. They look at the movie studios. They look at the small businesses opening every day and they say, I can do that too. There is an energy in Georgia that you don't find anywhere else. It is fast. It is loud. It is unapologetic. When you are here, you feel like you are at the center of the culture. Everything that is cool starts here. The fashion, the slang, the trends. It all comes out of this state. And because the population is so large, you have influence. We saw that in the last few elections. We saw how the black vote in Georgia changed the direction of the entire country. That is real power. That is knowing your worth. But let's look at the reality of living here day to day. Because so many people have moved here, the state is growing pains. The traffic is legendary. You will spend hours in your car just trying to get across town. The housing market has gone crazy. Prices that used to be affordable are now out of reach for many people. People are being pushed further and further out from the city center. You have to drive longer to get to work. You have to fight harder to keep your spot, and the competition is fierce because everyone is here to make it. Everyone is hustling. You are not the only one with a business idea. You are not the only one with a degree. You have to work twice as hard just to get noticed. It can be exhausting. A lot of people move here thinking it will be easy. They think the streets are paved with gold, but they find out quickly that you have to grind. You have to network. You have to prove yourself. But for the people who make it work, it is paradise. There is a support system here for entrepreneurs that is unmatched. If you want to start a hair salon, there are customers waiting. If you want to start a tech company, there are investors looking. People here want to support black business. They go out of their way to spend their money with their own community. That creates a cycle of wealth. It keeps the money in the neighborhood. And socially, it is unmatched. You can go out any night of the week and find something to do. You can find people who are on the same wavelength as you. You never have to feel alone here. You never have to feel like an outsider. Georgia is where we go to be seen. It is where we go to celebrate ourselves. It has its problems, sure. It is crowded. It is competitive, but it is also vibrant. It is alive. And for a lot of people, that energy is worth the price of admission. It is the beating heart of black culture in America right now. Number 2, Louisiana. Coming in at number 2 is Louisiana. This is where things get deep. If Georgia is the heart, Louisiana is the soul. The percentage of black residents here is staggering. In some towns, it feels like it is 100%. But Louisiana is a complicated place. It is not an easy place to live. We have to be honest about the economics. This state has struggled for a long time. There is poverty here that breaks your heart. There are systems here that seem designed to keep people down. So why is the black population so high? Why do people stay? Because the connection to this place is stronger than money. People here are rooted in the soil. They are rooted in their families. You don't just move to Louisiana, you belong to it. The culture here is thicker than anywhere else. It is in the air. You can smell it in the food cooking on the stove. You can hear it in the brass bands playing in the street. This is one of the few places where we truly held on to our African roots. You see it in the way people dance. You see it in the way they bury their dead. It is a celebration of life, even when life is hard. And life can be very hard here. You have to deal with the weather. You have to deal with the storms that come every year. You have to deal with a government that often leaves you behind, but that has created a community that is unbreakable. People here look out for each other. If your roof blows off, your neighbor is there with a hammer. If you don't have food, someone is bringing you a plate. That kind of reliance on each other is rare in modern America. We have become so individualistic. Everyone is in their own bubble, but in Louisiana, the bubble doesn't exist. You are part of a tribe, and there is a freedom in that. There is a freedom in knowing you are not facing the world alone. Also, despite the hardships, there is joy. Louisiana knows how to have a good time better than anyone. Here, they know how to find happiness in the middle of the struggle. That is a survival skill. That is something our ancestors passed down. However, if you are looking for economic climbing, this might be tough. The job market is not booming like in Georgia or South Carolina. You have to create your own lane. You have to be resourceful. But if you value heritage over hustle, if you value belonging over bank accounts, this is the place. It is raw. It is unfiltered. It doesn't try to hide its scars, but there is beauty in those scars. There is history in every crack in the sidewalk. Living here connects you to a story that is bigger than yourself. It reminds you of where we came from, and for the people who live here, that connection is worth more than anything else. As they are not leaving because this is home in a way that no other place can ever be. It is the spiritual center of our experience in this country. Number 1, Mississippi. And now we are at number 1, the state with the highest percentage of black residents in the entire United States. Mississippi. I know what you are thinking. I can feel the hesitation through the screen. Mississippi has a reputation. When people hear that name, they think of the worst parts of our history. They think of pain. They think of struggle. And yes, all of that happened here. All of that is part of the story. But if you stop there, you are missing the most important part. You are missing the miracle of Mississippi. Why are there so many black people here? Almost 40% of the state. It is because this is where we staked our claim. This is where we decided to stand our ground. While millions of people left during the Great Migration, millions stayed. And they didn't just stay to suffer, they stayed to own. This is the secret that nobody talks about. Mississippi is the land of black ownership. Because the cost of living is so low, people here own their homes. They own their land. They are not renting from a landlord who raises the price every year. They have deeds in their names. They have acres of soil that belong to them. That is a form of freedom that you cannot get in the big city. In New York, you might make $100,000 and still feel broke. You are paying for a tiny apartment. You are stressed about bills. In Mississippi, you can make half that money and live like a king. You can build a house for your family. You can grow your own food. You can be self-sufficient. There are towns here that were founded by former slaves. Towns that have been run by black people for over 100 years. Places where the mayor is black. The police chief is black. The teachers are black. It is a level of autonomy that is rare. Of course, the challenges are real. The infrastructure is old. The healthcare system needs work. There are pockets of poverty that are hard to look at. And the state politics can be frustrating. But the people here are not victims. They are fighters. They have built a world for themselves despite everything. They have created a culture that is deep and rich. The blues came from here. The music that changed the world started in these fields. There is a creativity here that comes from making something out of nothing. And there is a peace here if you look for it. It is quiet. It is simple. You are not rushing. You are not competing with thousands of people. You have space to breathe. You have space to think. For a lot of people who are tired of the rat race, Mississippi is becoming an answer. They are moving back. They are buying land. They are reclaiming their history. They are seeing the potential that everyone else ignored. So yes, Mississippi is #1, not just because of the numbers, but because of the endurance. It is a testament to our ability to stay, to build, and to thrive in the face of everything. It is the bedrock. It is the foundation. And whether you realize it or not, it is the home that holds the rest of us up. Outrow, so now you have the map. We stripped away the noise and looked at the reality on the ground. South Carolina for the new industrial wealth and stability. Maryland for the corporate ceiling and political influence. Georgia for the cultural dominance and the relentless hustle. Louisiana for the spiritual connection that money can't buy. And Mississippi for the ultimate power move, land ownership. Notice what we didn't do today. We didn't give you a paradise. We didn't give you a place without problems. We gave you options. We gave you battlegrounds where you can actually win. The blackest state isn't just about where we are. It is about where we are going. It is about where we are building. In 2026, you cannot afford to be a passive resident in this country. You have to be an active strategist about where you plant your roots. So look at your bank account, look at your family goals, and ask yourself the hard question. Are you trying to look rich or are you trying to be free? Because geography will decide that for you. Drop your choice in the comments below. I want to know if you are Team Maryland Power or Team Mississippi Land. Let the debate begin. Stay sharp, move smart, and I'll see you in the next one.